Mortal Kombat, the forever controversial legendary fighting game series that has captivated players with its intense martial arts combat and strikingly gory sequences. The franchise is renowned for its wide array of distinctive characters, each boasting unique special moves and unforgettable, brutal finishes. While it's often remembered for sparking controversies and moral debates due to its graphic content, the original games from the series offered a great deal of fun that amused players everywhere. But as impactful as the classic titles from the franchise were, interestingly there have been reports of multiple Mortal Kombat games that were developed but never released to the public. Today we're diving into the fascinating history of one of the most intriguing Mortal Kombat projects that was not only left on the cutting room floor but abandoned during the franchise's peak popularity. I am Lady Decade, and this is the story of the mysterious lost game, Mortal Kombat Nitro Edition. Mortal Kombat, what a legacy these games have, with their existence continuing to kick up controversies with their releases even in the modern day. For example, the latest entry in the series, Mortal Kombat 1, although often thought of as fantastic, has been plagued with criticism regarding the price of the game. While usually very expensive, you can get it 65% cheaper than elsewhere by simply using my affiliate link. Get these games and up to 90% off thousands of great titles by using my links down below. You can come away with a whole shopping cart of games and next to nothing if you like, so happy shopping. When Street Fighter II became a smash hit in arcades in 1991, followed by its exclusive home release on the Super Nintendo, it was clear that the market for one-on-one fighting games was ready to explode. Although there were multiple editions of this classic game released across a wide range of consoles, Street Fighter II soon faced fierce competition. No rival threatened its dominance more than Mortal Kombat. By 1993, Mortal Kombat, like Street Fighter, had been adapted for various consoles. However, as was common with arcade conversions of the time, each version came with its own set of limitations. As of September the 13th, 1993, we were still firmly in the era of 16-bit home consoles, while CD-ROM add-ons and 8-bit handhelds were also prevalent. With such a diverse range of hardware to accommodate, Mortal Kombat found itself widely distributed across different platforms. However, this broad reach didn't always result in the best representation of the game on each system. Let's take a closer look at the 8-bit Sega offerings, for example. Developed by Probe Software, the versions for the Game Gear and Master System, the latter not released in the US, unfortunately excluded Kano from the character roster. However, a code could be used on the Game Gear to display blood on its vibrant colour screen. Probe's efforts on the Game Boy largely bypassed the need for a blood code, given the console's monochrome display. While Kano made it into this version, Johnny Cage was notably absent. Of course, the Sega Genesis and the subsequent Sega CD version, released about a year later, garnered significant praise and became fan favourite home versions of the game during this era. Despite their popularity, Sega's hardware couldn't fully replicate the arcade graphics to the level players had hoped for. However, the Sega 16-bit versions gained all the home hype due to being the most graphically violent renditions available. Notably, the infamous blood code could easily be activated, transforming the sweat into blood, much like the Game Gear version. The Sega CD version, released with a MA17 rating, allowed the developers to push the boundaries a bit further than the MA13 rated cartridge version. However, if you're familiar with this chapter of Mortal Kombat's history, you'd likely know that the Super Nintendo version was the most disappointing. Despite having a controller with ample buttons for the arcade experience, graphics that could handle large, colourful sprites close to the arcade's photorealism, and Sony's renowned sound chip, the Super Nintendo fell short due to one major issue: Nintendo of America's strict content policies. These restrictions significantly toned down the game's violent elements, diminishing the experience for many fans. When Sculptured Software brought Mortal Kombat to the Super Nintendo, controversy ensued. Project director Jeff Peters had previously explained the challenges they faced. According to Peters, Nintendo was adamant about the no violence or family-friendly aspect from the start, so we had to significantly tone down the violence for the SNES version. The team at Sculptured Software worked closely with Midway's Ed Boon, John Tobias and Ked Fednesna, submitting storyboards for new fatalities that they believed would retain the spirit of the originals while still meeting Nintendo's stringent standards. This process involved extensive back and forth negotiations, ultimately resulting in the complete overhaul of only 2 fatalities, while the rest were toned down under Nintendo's supervision. Additionally, all blood from punches and kicks was replaced with sweat, achieved through a simple palette swap. The simple colour swap from blood to sweat made it easy for third-party enhancers like the Game Genie to revert it back to blood with straightforward codes. Despite this workaround, the Super Nintendo version was labelled with the somewhat unintentionally degrading Competition Edition on the box, highlighting the compromises made to align with Nintendo's content policies. Essentially, purchasing this version meant you were getting a solid port that delivered the expected gameplay experience in terms of combos, special moves and overall mechanics. However, you also knew that the violence would be toned down, fatalities might be altered, and you would likely find yourself envying the kids in your class who had the Mega Drive version, which retained the game's full graphic intensity. Thanks to the immense brand strength of Mortal Kombat in the 1990s, the SNES version sold well, but the Genesis version sold exceptionally. This competition became a defining moment in the console wars of the era. A lingering question remains: if a more violent Super Nintendo version of Mortal Kombat had existed, could the outcome have been different? Surprisingly, it's said that a more violent version actually does exist. In acknowledging the legend of a more intense version, Rob Holmes, in an excerpt from Long Live Mortal Kombat Round 1 published on IGN, mentioned that there were initial versions from Sculptured Software that included blood. However, Nintendo rejected these versions, leading to a series of negotiations between the developers and the console owner. This back and forth ultimately resulted in a toned down game featuring sweat instead of blood, reworked fatalities that removed instances of decapitation, and even a proposed variant for Johnny Cage's finishing move. In one of the alternate versions, it was proposed that instead of Johnny Cage punching his opponent's head off, he would kick them through the chest, causing an explosion of blood, bones and even their liver. This vivid depiction highlights the raw nature of fatalities before Nintendo's censorship. However, the saga of the Super Nintendo's original Mortal Kombat didn't end with these early ideas and rejections. The story of its alternate versions extends beyond the initial approval process. Inspired by the disappointing sales of Mortal Kombat on the SNES and the success of Street Fighter II Turbo, James Fink, a product tester at Acclaim, proposed releasing an improved version called Mortal Kombat Nitro. While it might have seemed unlikely given Nintendo's strict censorship at the time, changes were underway that made the idea of a Nitro Edition feasible. The proposed version aimed to address the shortcomings of the original SNES release and capitalise on the growing fighting game market. Like Acclaim and Sculptured Software, Nintendo was also displeased with the backlash and ridicule their versions of Mortal Kombat received. As a result, they decided that future Mortal Kombat games on their platform could include the level of violence that fans wanted. With this new leniency, 21-year-old James Fink began drafting an outline for an upgraded SNES version. This proposed edition would include significant enhancements, such as making the boss characters Goro and Shang Tsung playable, among other improvements. Additionally, Reptile the green-clad ninja with combined movesets of Scorpion and Sub-Zero would be included in the game, unlike his watered-down appearance in Mortal Kombat 2. A new hidden character, the original Kung Lao, known for defeating Shang Tsung centuries ago, would also be introduced. It's uncertain whether Kung Lao would be an unlockable character or remain a mysterious opponent, but his inclusion would have been an exciting addition to the game. This potential upgrade would have offered a fresh and enhanced experience for players. Building on these ideas, the game was set to introduce a morality system. Characters like Liu Kang, Sonya and Johnny Cage were aligned with good, while others like Kano and the tournament hosts were evil. Players would be rewarded for maintaining the character's alignment throughout the game, earning new costumes as a reward. For instance, if Liu Kang chose to kill Sonya, he would be led down a dark path, but sparing her and defeating Goro would earn him a new outfit. The proposed costumes, such as Blood Red Scorpion and Johnny Cage in golden pants, were likely simple palette swaps to fit the budget. Considering the multiple versions of Street Fighter 2 on the Super Nintendo, one might wonder what happened to the proposed Mortal Kombat Nitro Edition. Despite efforts from Sculptured Software and Acclaim, the franchise's creators John Tobias and Ed Boon were against the idea. They did not want a spin-off that might interfere with the arcade sales of Mortal Kombat 2. Consequently, Acclaim shifted focus to developing the home releases of Mortal Kombat 2, which arrived on the Super Nintendo with minimal censorship. Although Mortal Kombat Nitro was never released to the public, it does exist. James Fink, who was involved in its development, confirms that he still possesses one of the 2 known copies of this rare in-progress version. According to Fink, this version includes features such as blood, Kano's heart rip fatality, and an updated version of Johnny Cage's kick fatality. He speculates that the other copy may still be in the possession of Ed Boon. In an August 2010 interview with Game Informer, Ed Boon discussed his views on the unreleased Mortal Kombat Nitro project. He explained his reluctance to approve the game, first pointing out the shortcomings of the original Super Nintendo version. Boon noted that while the game looked cool, it lacked the violent elements fans expected and didn't play well, which was a significant issue for him. Despite this, there was no pressure to release the game due to its preset shipping dates. Ed Boon recalled that the president of Acclaim once called him at home, pressuring him to approve the original Super Nintendo Mortal Kombat game, which Boon believed did not play well. He expressed regret for allowing the release under those conditions. Boon mentioned that after the initial game's issues, the team worked on the Nitro version, which included additional blood and playable boss characters, possibly with faster gameplay. However, with the development of Mortal Kombat 2, the focus has shifted away from Nitro, leaving it as an unfinished project. Adding another layer to this intriguing story, in June 2020, documents about the project surfaced on Twitter, revealing additional details not previously discussed. These included a speed adjustment feature and an extra fatality for Johnny Cage, where he would transform his opponent into a golden statue resembling an Oscar award. These revelations provided more insight into the ambitious plans for the unreleased Mortal Kombat Nitro version. In addition to the previously mentioned features, the June 2020 Twitter reveal included plans for an instant replay function, allowing players to re-watch their matches. The game would offer options to set time limits, unlock the pit level as a selectable stage, and give every character a second outfit. Levels would have a day mode for light path warriors and a dark mode for those on the darker path. Notably, it was mentioned that the SNES version would still be toned down compared to the proposed Genesis port, suggesting that the definitive experience would once again favour Sega's platform. Ridiculous, indeed. As the Mortal Kombat franchise has expanded to 12 mainline entries, it's challenging to declare the first game as the best among the 2D versions. Mortal Kombat 2 is often highly praised, and Mortal Kombat Trilogy provides a comprehensive experience with its extensive roster and features. These later games have built upon the original's foundation, offering improved gameplay mechanics, character diversity, and visual enhancements that have solidified the series' reputation. As of today, don't you forget you can get 65% off the latest version of Mortal Kombat via my affiliate link. Or if you fancy something different, don't forget you can get up to 90% off of thousands of other games too by using the same link. Or if you want to support this channel in a more personal way, access my cosplay photo library and more, you can support my work over on Patreon. I look forward to speaking with you over there.